part 2 on do you have enough flair for today? The title of the video will be literally A and B and that sort of thing, but we're going to cover something a little bit different here. Previous video I covered why, if you're a cosplayer, making a gun might be a problem. Here's where we go into it, but I'm going to introduce you to something very simple. It's called the Very pistol, and it is literally spelled V-E-R-Y, if you were curious about the previous video title and this one. That's actually the name of the person who invented it. We're describing a device called a flare gun. There are several varieties, and lots of video games use them, and they're a trope in movies. It is a ridiculously large caliber firearm by definition. It's a smoothbore handgun, pistol, very concealable short-barreled or sawed-off shotgun, and it's considered a destructive device because its intended use is to throw something that would be used to cause an arson occurrence. Forest fires have been caused by it, and forest fires are even stopped by it by using it to do backburning. Yeah, it's used by firefighters to put out a fire by causing small fires in line with them so they'll burn out at that point. Line breaks. It's always treated as a distress call. If you use it inappropriately or if you use it like a dumbass, you are subject to a bunch of laws you didn't know existed. And if you misuse the item under that rule, because it's a federal law or whatever, depending on where you are, that also includes doing anything at all with it that alters what it is doing and what it is for. That includes modifying it for any form of shooting anything other than a flare. Now, I'm going to list a few things that are a weird thing in the law. Again, they're only legal because the company that made them got approval and an exemption. I'm going to give an example. But remember, it meets the definition of every illegal characteristic you can have in a firearm. Smoothbored and short-barreled. Overbore. It's more than 50 caliber. That's one of the restrictions. It only fires one shot at a time. But, this is important, it's extremely concealable. Anything you can conceal that could possibly do something like that, even if it would blow your hand off. And again, as I mentioned in the previous video, it is designed on purpose so that if you do put something in it, you'd have to make a really small version of a shotgun shell if it's the 12 gauge. And making it that size would only do one thing: prove to you categorically that it was a dumb idea, because it would break the thing in such a way that it would injure you with a minimum level of damage. Yes, someone put a proof round in to see what kind of damage it would do to your pinky or finger. When you fire it, if it fires, if it even works, the most likely thing to get injured will be your index finger, whichever one. They're ambidextrous. And most of the gun flies away. The idea is to make it to where you can't do it again. You learn your lesson. It's expensive if you buy one for $100 at the normal marine store these days. And it makes it to where they don't have any liability. You can't claim liability because you went out of your way to alter a shotgun shell to go into it. And then somebody put out a 2-inch shotgun shell that fits completely right in it. Because you can use a pump shotgun or a tube feed shotgun specifically. And if you put in really short shells, they're really good for doing short-range shooting. They're mostly used for target practice. But they'll fit. Until that was done, there was no legal problem. So what happened in some states, I'll get to them in a minute. Again, they're not designed or intended to do anything like a gun. Here we go. The 37mm flare, or the 1.5-inch smoothbore caliber or gas gun specification for a weapon. It is exempt from being called a weapon if, and this is the part of it that's screwed up, if you use it for flares, smoke rounds, noise effect, or bird bombs, or bear guns, not flare guns. Keep in bare your arms, bear guns. Bear guns that shoot literally a little firework. I'm not kidding. It fires just like a real firework. The shells that are fired from the ground up to put up the stars and stuff, they're identical. These are also regulated, if you didn't know it already figured out, as pyrotechnic objects. Don't make any of them. You're absolutely violating federal law. I have been licensed technically to do that at one time. Oh my God, the paperwork. Don't make them, buy them. Yes, you can get kits for using them, but they included pre-loaded charges to get around this. And you can't ship them because this is absolutely a freaking explosive and a fire hazard. They're also allowed legally to fire CS or OC agents, mace, They can be exempted from the National Firearms Act of 1934 only because they're an overboard, I mean, it's a 150 caliber freaking destructive device that you're using it's the usage of it, intended usage. And there are no safeguards with the 37 millimeter, large bore launchers. Okay, what? Well, let's go on. If you have any non-lethal or less lethal ammunition at all, anything that could hurt anybody, like wood pellets, rubber bullets, rubber pellets, balls, bean bags, tear gas, projectiles, full on, anything comes out that sprays afterwards, the launcher must be registered as a destructive device with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, ATF. Now, why is that? I mean, it doesn't take any conventional form of weaponry. It doesn't take an anti-personnel item like a bullet that's that diameter. It's an outdated round. The only one that does take is called a cannon. That's a 1.5 inch, I think it's an 8-pounder cannon or something. No, it's not an 8-pounder. That's actually I think that's a 1-pounder cannon. Yeah, it's the same diameter as a shipboard anti-ship cannon. It's that joke about you being able to own a bazooka. This is pretty freaking close. It's an anti-tank round, but it's grandfathered in because it had a legitimate usage. The U.S. Navy did not want to make it illegal to own one, and they stopped using that diameter for anything that could actually kill anybody, but they use it for non-lethal shit. Next. 1981, U.S. Coast Guard requirements took effect, requiring boats 16 feet or larger to carry flares. Promptly, the New York City Police Department declared that being sold to the general public without any controls on it, or registration, a flare pistol is a firearm, because they were in the middle of a gun ban about pistols. The sale and possession without a permit or firearm registration was a crime under state penal law. Police will have to use their own judgment for this, with its 1-year mandatory jail offense. And it's additive if there's more than one of them. And if you sold them as a boat company, these are dangerous if they're not used in their intended purpose. So's a hammer. There are other devices that don't conflict with the law, but they were less effective, harder to use than the other one, the pistol, and because of that, because people would literally aim them down sometimes, ended up causing people to burn their boat down, and in 2 cases, you dumbasses, which is the reason the law changed, causing fatalities because it destroyed a major ship at sea. This became very popular in the news, including, and I'm not kidding about this, there is an incident that they won't say is caused by this. It was depicted in Jaws too, by the way, but somebody started they put out the fire, but someone started an oil tanker on fire by not having a real flare pistols are unidirectional. The other flares, you can't figure out which end is which if you're fumbling around trying to get rescued. California laws on concealed carry and loaded firearm in public definitions only used in this part of the law, as used in the following provisions. Penal Code Section 16750, 16840B, 25400, 25850 through 26025, 26060, 26035 through 26055, 2603A, B and C, 16520C, 3 and 4, and firearm definition devices. I'm required to read all that so you know it's California law. Did you know that? You thought New Jersey was a bitch. And let's get on with it. A device designed to be used as a weapon is a firearm. It has to be a device, not random pieces laying around on the floor you could make into a gun, from which is expelled through a barrel a projectile by the force of an explosion or other form of combustion, not air pressure. That means your potato cannon is illegal. This is including, and they added this in, rockets, rocket-propelled projectile launchers, or similar device containing an explosive or incendiary material, whether or not the device is designed for emergency or distress signaling purposes or not. It doesn't matter. That last part was added in so they could regulate flare guns as weapons. Why? Because some asshole actually held up a bank with one, and at one point someone did something really simple. I'm not going to explain the video. That'll be another video. But I'm going to read some hints here. California flare guns must be transported unloaded and encased or in a locked container like any other weapon. Exemption is allowed if they're on an aircraft or a ship or in possession of a hunter traveling between sites for hunting or in the act of hunting. So you can't be the smoker, you have to be the hunter character. Fiend. Okay. Now, I'm going to include a few extra things. Definitions. Rifling doesn't necessarily make any barrel length a legal self-made firearm or gun or other. If a barrel has a projectile, explosive, and fixed ammunition or shells, it's a firearm. If it's a breech loader, it's considered a firearm or not. If it's a muzzle loader, it's almost never considered a firearm, even though it can do something like tear out a wall and kill 50 people in one shot. Because it's a single shot and it takes a bitch ton of time to load it. If it's any device that can readily use any existing cartridge or any propellant to expel any projectile through any barrel. These are the generalized rules. You can make your own real rifle, pistol, or gun or rifle. Those are all different meanings depending on where you are. For your own use. Can't sell it or trade it ever. You have to destroy it or dismantle it and throw the pieces in different directions. Four Winds gun. It has to be from scratch. It can't be converted in any way, shape, or form without it being deemed a conversion. Warning, you can make a gun and then convert the gun after you've made it because you've purpose-built it and gone through all the hoops you would have to do without having to have a tax stamp. A pistol is something intended to be gripped with one hand, one shot per trigger activation. Shotguns, 18-inch smoothbore barrel, overall length, 26 minimum overall length, smoothbore, 18-inch barrel. Trigger activation, one shot from the shoulder. If you make a shotgun and you can fire open one-handed, it's considered a pistol. You have to do these rules. Can't be a smoothbore pistol, has to be rifled. Because then you're trying to make a small shotgun. Because the bore diameter can be up to 50 caliber, and a 50 caliber shotgun that's handheld is considered a concealed shotgun or sawed-off shotgun. Or a whippet. Pistols have to have a minimum barrel length, and this is listed vaguely. This will be another video. Depends on caliber, and allows enough barrel to be rifled. Must be rifled. That will be another video. So it's not any length you want. Building a device deliberately designed in a way to avoid the resemblance of a gun is legal. This also includes flares that are made not to look like a gun for safety reasons, so you don't get confused with being a gun holder. And Pirate's Flag adapter converts a 25mm or foreign-made 26.5mm flare gun to use 12-gauge flares because they're cheaper and easier to find, because that's an outdated material round. Converting a 12-gauge flare gun to fire single shot, smaller diameter other flares. People made flares that were tinier. That's legal, as long as it's only for flares. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.